Hey, everybody, and welcome to today's broadcast. We are going live on the eclipse energies. Let me know you're here in a comment below if you're on live. And even if you're watching the replay, feel free to drop a comment, say hello, and let me know how the reading resonates. Keep in mind, though, that these ones are, I'll talk in a minute about eclipses and timing and the timeline and when it should sort of apply to your life once we get into the actual report. Welcome to everyone jumping on. Welcome to anyone new to the channel. Welcome back to all of you who have been here a certain amount of time, however long that is. And today we are doing this report on the eclipse. So we will be going through each sign of the zodiac. And before we get into that, I will just be talking about the energy of this eclipse. So welcome. Get ready. You are in for a treat today. So let's get started. The first thing you want to know is when it's happening. So the eclipse will happen. This is a solar eclipse in Aries. It happens April 19th. So we do have a good, 11 days until this eclipse happens. One of the biggest things to remember about eclipses is that when it comes to the timeline of eclipses, the changes that the eclipses sort of instigate in your life are going to happen within that 6-month period. So this can be anytime from April 19th to 6 months after that. That's going to be when these changes take place. So that's one of the things to remember with eclipses is that it usually doesn't cause some huge crazy thing happening on that day of your life. It's just in that time period. So that's one thing to remember. Another thing to remember is for those of you who like to do rituals with the new moon or you like to do manifesting, especially when it's like a ritual type of a thing, this is not a good time to do so because eclipses are known to be volatile. They're known to be malefic. They're known to be unpredictable. And so if you choose to do a ritual during an eclipse, you're going to infuse that ritual with eclipse energy. And, it's not like it's, not to scare anyone, but really, that's not something most of us need in our life. The eclipse is going to work on you already. It's going to work on us already. And, eclipses in our life will eclipse something out oftentimes, or it will eclipse something into our life. But just that little reminder that it's not really the best time to manifest something. All right. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to talk about the energy of this eclipse, what you need to know about it in general, and then we'll go through the different signs of the zodiac. And you can watch your sun, moon, and rising, but keep in mind that your rising sign will be the most accurate when it comes to the events happening and the changes that may take place. So we have the eclipse here in front of us, and we're looking at, let me zoom in here on the sun and the moon, right? Because and remember what makes an eclipse is proximity to the nodes. So that's one thing that you might notice about this eclipse. Normally the eclipses are going to be in the same sign as whatever the north or south node are, but sometimes the sun and moon can be within proximity to the north or south node without being in the same sign. This is an example. Why? Because the nodes are close to the edge of a sign. So that's why we have the eclipse in Aries while the north node is still in Taurus. So that's one big thing to know about this one. The other thing you may notice right away is that it's at the 29 degree of Aries. So while I am not a huge proponent of degree theory, I do believe the 29 degree and the 0 degree are important ones. And that 29 degree on an eclipse in Aries, the sign of, being impulsive, the sign of just doing it, the sign of the warrior, the sign of, cutting through the BS and just going straight for what you want with your life, seeing what you're made of, being direct. That's all at that 29 degrees. So there's a very strong energy here on this eclipse of us embodying this energy or life kind of handing us this energy in some way. We'll talk more about that once we get into the rising signs, the way that may show up for a lot of us. But the point here is it's going to be intense. Okay. That's all I can say. This will be an intense eclipse. This will be an intense change for a lot of people, especially if you have planets at that 29 degrees. So who is most affected by the solar eclipse in Aries on April 19th/20th, 2023? This is going to be if you have Aries, sun, moon, or rising, or if you have your sun, moon, or rising, any of the cardinal signs. That's going to be Aries, Libra, Cancer, or Capricorn. Those are the signs that are going to be the most hit by this, because that means the eclipse will happen in an angular house. Keep in mind, though, everyone will be affected. Also, people who have their personal planets at or near 29 degrees of Aries. So let's say 23 degrees of Aries, maybe through about 5 degrees of Taurus. Those people are also going to feel this. And those planets are going to be the sun, moon, your rising sign, or Mercury, Venus, or Mars. So that is who is most affected. So let's talk for a moment about how this eclipse is going to affect us the most. We have, again, it's at the 29 degree of Aries. It's going to bring up the Aries themes of believing we can do things and situations that might test our belief in how capable we are. It might test areas of life where we feel or have felt like we're not capable. And you know what? I just realized I need Chiron. Chiron's not on here. We got to get Chiron. I have to find him. Here we go. We need Chiron for this because Chiron is in Aries. And let's go back to why did it do that? It went back. Hold on, we got to get back to the day of our eclipse, which is close to today. There we go. Nope. There it is. So as far as when this is happening, the eclipse will be happening now this is going to be April 19th at 9:17 p.m. Pacific time, which for a lot of time zones, it's already going to be April 20th. So most people who are not in North America, this will be April 20th for you. So early in the morning, right? So like on the East Coast, it'll be April 20th at 12:17 a.m. And anyone, in Europe and Asia, it's going to also be on the 20th. So that being said, let's talk more about the energies here. One of the biggest things we do in an eclipse is we look at where is the eclipse in the chart, but then we look at where is the ruler of Aries. And this is Mars. Mars will be in Cancer. So this is a really important thing to know about an eclipse, is where is the ruler of the eclipse. Because Mars rules the eclipse and it's in Cancer, it doesn't like being in Cancer because it can't do Mars type stuff, because Cancer is the sign of the home and the family and things that feel good. And Mars does not care about feelings. So with Mars in Cancer, sometimes there's a need to like tiptoe around people's feelings. Sometimes you feel like you can't speak up. For people who have Mars in Cancer, it's kind of hard to rock the boat, or it's hard to get angry sometimes. But then what happens is that anger will build up and that anger. So how this shows up in an energy report is going to be that, we can't clearly do what the eclipse sort of wants us to do. So it's like someone saying, just do it, just do it. And it's like it's like when you need to take out an enemy, but there's a kid in front of the enemy. Not that because you all can relate to this. You can't take out the kid. You know what I mean? Like you gotta put certain things in perspective. So for some people, this will be issues between their own independence and their own family's values and being torn between these things. For other people, this will be issues between your need to assert your independence, go after what you want versus your connection to the past. So for a lot of us, this will be about breaking free from the past. It will be about figuring out how to do that, because that Mars in Cancer in this eclipse isn't helping us, which means our tendency to want to go back to something comfortable may be a theme that shows up. Our desire to protect our home or our family may be a theme that shows up, something like that. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do, I think we're just going to go straight into the rising signs now. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Oh, one more thing actually is, how do you know how this eclipse will affect you? You can think back, if you're old enough, to what was happening in your life around April through October of 2004. The reason for this is in April of 2004, we had a solar eclipse in Aries at the 29 degree. I'm not even kidding you. So to have like an exact, and that eclipse also had the North Node in Taurus. Okay, so this is a very, very similar thing. Like, it's not this. I was kind of amazed that there would be one in our lifetimes we could look at with this exact same those same features. Okay, it doesn't have all the other same features, but what was happening in your life in 2004, April through October, related to your Aries house topics. So I'll get more into this once we get into the different signs, but that is something you can ask yourself, and it will help you kind of see what themes were playing out at that time. So moving on now, we are going to go to the first sign, which is Aries. And for this, just keep in mind that for these signs, they're not going to be the exact hour or the exact degree of the moon, because I need to change the hour to get this in the right place, which means instead of the moon being at 20 here, it's going to be at 29. So you'll have to just pretend that it's at 29, or just know the eclipse happens at that 29 degree. All right, so we're going to start here with Aries. And feel free, you guys, to comment your rising sign in the chat, and also to let me know if what I'm talking about seems like it is present in your life when watching this. Okay, so that all being said, Aries, sun, moon, and rising. Aries at that 29 degree in your first house. So having that solar eclipse in your first house is a very, very big eclipse for you, Aries, because this is it's a solar eclipse in the house of your life, right? Our first house, when it comes to transits, it's personality changes, it's big life changes. It can even be also getting into relationships, because the first house is opposite the seventh house. It could also be ending relationships, big, huge relationship changes, big changes to your life direction. A lot of Aries from April to October of this year may be changing their jobs, right? Because not only do we have that major change in your first house of you, but we also have the North Node at this point in Taurus, which is your money house. So it's like changes for the purpose of making more money, changes for the purpose of seeing your value, changes for the purpose of building skills and becoming more capable and being able to have what you want in life, and to enjoy your possessions more, to enjoy the things you have, possibly get more things to enjoy, and, live up those senses. So now let's talk about the challenge coming from Mars during this eclipse. Because Mars is in your fourth house. Again, very strong eclipse for Aries, because we have the eclipse in an angular house. Mars rules you, right? So an eclipse in your house, and then your energy here in an angular house as well. So it's like Aries, a lot of Aries right now might have some tension between what they're family of origin wants from them or what they want from themselves. A lot of Aries during this time may be breaking free another layer of expectations put on them by a family of origin. They may be having some responsibilities from the past they have to take care of that take them a little bit away from their own work. It's almost like, a family member needs something, so you need to put more energy or time defending them or helping them or supporting them, advocating for them. And because of that, it's less time to do what you want to do or do your own thing. Um, Now, this could go the other way, where during this April to October phase, if you're Aries rising and you've been helping your family, or you've been taking care of your family, or had some other connection to your hometown, this could be a time where that connection ends up being severed for some reason. The commitment ends, or someone else takes over, or you say, enough's enough, I can't do this anymore. Now, that's just some possibilities. Other possibilities here for those who that doesn't apply is, how the question for Aries is, how do you need to break free from the past to have the life you want to have and to have your life direction go to where you want to go? This could be buying a house. This could be making changes to your home, fixing up your home. You could have challenges with your home that you need to adjust to dealing with. That could go many different ways. If you're an Aries and you do real estate, there could be some tension around where that's going in your life. Also the home, that fourth house is our own emotional security. So having Mars go through the fourth house, you may feel more inspired or more determined to feel better on the inside. But it's like for some Aries, I feel this may be the opposite, where you end up taking a job or starting on some new life course where you're not able to do as much of the emotional nurturing things that you're used to doing. Things that to doing to have your self-care. You may feel like you need to protect your family in some way. Again, protecting your family or severing from your family. Those are two big themes I see from this eclipse. Now, Jupiter here is in your first house. And in that first house, Jupiter is making it better or helping you solve the problem, right? Because Jupiter is making a, 6-degree conjunction. To me, I call that a conjunction to the eclipse, which means there, for whatever problem, whatever type of Aries problem you end up having. So that could be something like needing to go on a new diet. Diets do sometimes go in the first house, not because of what it takes to do them, but because of the outcome of changing your appearance. So you could also be changing your appearance. You could be sort of doing any kind of upgrade where it's like, new you time. And Jupiter will help you sort of step into a new identity, grow your identity, have a bigger plate, take on more, and be able to handle and accomplish the things that you want to do. Keep in mind, though, Chiron is here. So some of the challenges are like, well, what if I can't do it? This is a time, during this eclipse will be a time where either we will have to kind of do something we thought we couldn't do, or see what we're made of in some way. Like, are you strong enough to stand up to your family? Are you strong enough to say no when you need to? Are you strong enough to do what you want with your own life? That kind of thing. Now, Jupiter rules your ninth house of the meaning of life. So the planet of the meaning of life for you is conjunct the eclipse. Now, this is also the planet of travel, like traveling abroad. So some Aries during this eclipse might travel abroad and disconnect from family in that way, disconnect from what was home and leave the past behind. For you guys in particular, leaving the past behind, severing connections that were very maternal or nurturing to you, and kind of, taking the new path out on your own, striking your own path is really a strong theme here. Other themes we could see for Aries during this eclipse is going to be that ninth house stuff of higher education. Some Aries may be going to college or doing something else related to higher education or learning. So learning, travel, the law, courses. You could be teaching courses if that's something that makes sense based on your life. You could be taking new courses. You could be making more time in your life for esoteric or spiritual or meaningful education, those kind of things as well. Okay, let me see here what else we can see. There's another aspect here. There's a Saturn squaring Venus. Also not my favorite, you guys. I don't love this eclipse for us. So Saturn in the 12th squaring Venus in the 3rd. Saturn in the 12th is a time where, you might have to face some of your inner demons. It's a good time for that. It's a good time for that because Saturn helps you face it. Saturn in the 12th is also a time in life where there is a little bit more reflection. It's kind of natural when Saturn is in the 12th to be reflective. It doesn't mean that's all you're doing, but that might be more infused into your life. You may add in some Saturn type practices into your spirituality. Saturn squaring Venus is a time for sacrifice too. So that's kind of the key word for Saturn Venus is like, what pleasures are you sacrificing now that are going to help you get to where you want to be? Now that doesn't always have to be horrible. Like if you live in another country, you don't get all the foods that were there when when you left that country, right? They don't have the same chocolate over there wherever you go. They don't have the same coffee creamer. They don't have the same anything. So it can be that kind of sacrifice where it's like something you want to do and it's fun and it's fine. But for others, this can be more of like, what money are you going to stop spending so you can invest in the house you want or, other stuff like this. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do for Aries. And we're going to move on now to the sign of Taurus. So you can watch your sun. Oh, and also for Aries, actually, I will say, Aries, think about what big life changes were happening for you back in between April and October 2004. That's going to give you a really good idea of what we might see going on here. I'm just going to see if this might work. Nope. Those are our options. Okay, so we got that. We are on Taurus. Let's move our chart. Keep in mind on these, you're not going to see the moon in the right place. It should be at 29. That's just so that I can see the whole chart from that rising sign. And Taurus, sun, moon, or rising. You got the eclipse happening in your 12th house. Man, okay. Solar eclipse in the 12th, that can be new beginnings to 12th house type of stuff. The best kind of 12th house type of stuff is spiritual stuff you want to do to go out and remove yourself from society. So, with the 12th house, I think of the keyword recovery sometimes. Sometimes it's about having some downtime to recover from something. Sometimes that will happen with 12th house transits is like, you get 2 weeks off to be at home and chill while your leg is in a cast or something. Because that 6th house is like our daily work, what we're doing, it's like us sort of in some way engaging with life. So when the eclipse happens in the 12th, it's something happens to start a new cycle or to pop off something related to your internal life, right? That psychological life. Now, I guess for some Taurus, this could be a quest, right? An inner quest to connect with the deeper meaning of life, to connect with what you really deeply understand about yourself. You could be digging into your own psychology. So like some Tauruses might start doing psychotherapy. I'm not advocating for that. I don't make those kind of recommendations, but that's one just way this eclipse could show up. Others could be recovering from something. So getting sober or something along those lines. Although there's a little bit more of a beginning feeling, right? So to me, getting sober feels more like an ending, but that's actually a very 12th house type of a beginning where you end something that was like your own demons for a new beginning. There's other ways this can play out. of course, not everyone watching this is getting sober, but not everyone watching this needs to get sober. But that's just like a metaphor for what kind of changes the 12th house allows us to do. It's like you don't get to get sober unless you stop drinking or you stop smoking weed or you stop whatever the thing was. You can't have the new beginning if you don't stop the old thing. That's a 12th house eclipse. You know, what old thing do you need to stop? Now, there are times where an eclipse in the 12th house may bring more of a something removed from your life, because the 12th house really does represent endings. There are other endings that are a little more positive though that could fall under this, would be like retiring, maybe the ending where your kids go to college or your kids move away. Other endings like that, where it's like, okay, this we wanted this to end. But since Jupiter is your 8th house ruler of intimacy, this may not be, for some Tauruses, this may be an ending of a relationship. It is possible. I'm not saying it's true for everyone, but if that's the case, because it's a solar eclipse, it feels like so you can have the life you want kind of a thing, you know, and that may not be true for every single person, but overall, that does feel like the kind of theme here. Other things about eclipse in the 12th house, some people might go do something like intentionally, like go to rehab on purpose, or go to a temple stay, you know, or go to train with monks. You know, these are all 12th house things. Go to a something where you're, you know, eat, pray, love style, where you're removing yourself from your normal life for the purpose of going within and recovering or healing, or, you know, having some, you know, psychological epiphanies, and having that, like creating that quiet space in your life for that purpose. That is something that can happen. Not everyone is going to have that either. Those are possibilities. So again, Jupiter makes this better, which makes me feel like at this time for Tauruses who do like whatever you're doing, you know, you may find that you have just, you know, you just have stuff you're recovering from, and Jupiter helps you have the insights and the realizations and the contemplation and and it's interesting that it's in Aries, because it's almost like, I don't know why I feel like this is a better metaphor, but it's almost like when someone decides to like ride their bike across the country, and it's like you're going to get quiet through that practice, but you're also going to be moving and doing stuff the whole time. And that's because it's in Aries. So there's that difference. Now, let's talk about the node being in the north node being in Taurus at this time, and Taurus being your first house. That first house is your identity. So it's like there's a theme here of contemplation, taking time out, or dealing with grief, you know, whether the grief is happening, the loss is happening during this time, or whether it's from the past, you know, dealing with grief, dealing with things that are, you have to kind of peel back psychological layers to get down to the heart of. You have to kind of explore the depth of, but the purpose is why, so you can be the person you want to be. And you know, with Jupiter and conjunct this eclipse in the 12th, it feels like that those kind of activities may be supportive to the personality, to either forming the personality, continuing to form it, or having some kind of personality change or life direction change. But it's like the focus here is not on the life direction change. The focus is on the 12th house type work of facing those inner demons that needs to be done in order to have the change. So I know we're getting real deep on you guys, Taurus, but I can't do a 12th house report without going to the depths a little bit here. You're not all going to lose your minds though, so don't think that. Other 12th house things, sometimes some of you might be helping someone else heal or recover. Some of you might be helping a sibling heal or recover from their own psychological stuff, and you're the one helping. You're the one providing the support. You're the one being the resource. That's one possibility. Now, having your 12th house ruler in the third, it makes me feel like you could, for those of you Tauruses who have siblings, relationships that are like, active in your life right now, that not just like brothers and sisters who live far away you never talk to, but like ones that are, a main part of your life, you might fight with them or something. You might have some old family hurts or stuff to deal with your siblings. You might have something happen that brings up some kind of nostalgia about the past related to siblings, cousins, or aunts and uncles. For some of you, there might be something going on with your car or your transportation, with the 12th house ruler in the house of your vehicle. It's like, I don't know, are you sabotaging your car or something? It's weird because the 12th house is so nebulous and hard to pin down, So it's like something nebulous and hard to pin down happening to your car. It's not like your car gets lost. That would be the opposite way. It's like your spirit guides are talking to you while you're driving or something, something a little bit spooky or weird going on for some of you. Yeah, that's one way that could show up. Also, there's a lot going on for Taurus here with the past, for this one. And, there's a lot going on with maybe the need to break free of the psychological influences your siblings had on you to be the person you want to be. Maybe there is some kind of severing that happens with a certain sibling or a certain cousin or a certain uncle or aunt, extended family, where it's like you realize how mean they were, or you realize how unhealthy a dynamic is, and you're like, I'm ready to break away from this. But this could also be happening just in your own psyche, where you're like, enough is enough. Some of you may be ending a course of study, especially like a smaller course. Some of you may, if you've been learning in your community, the community course may end. Any kind of course in your community doesn't have to be about your community. It could be about taxes or finances or anything you've been learning. Something like quick and easy and short, where it's like short bursts of information. You could be cutting yourself away from that. Some of you may decide you want to go on a social media fast, or you may want to change or limit or, disconnect from certain social media platforms because you realize they're not good for your mental health. You may be really exploring what you need to do to think in a way that is supportive to you and helpful to you and going to get you where you want to be. You might be kind of inspired to debate right now. You might be having debates with people. You might be having challenges. Some of you might have a conflict with a neighbor that is very stressful at this time. That's another way that can show up. So now let's talk about this aspect from Venus and Saturn. Square Saturn in the 11th squaring Venus in the second makes me feel like maybe some groups you belong to are somehow causing you a challenge financially. Now, this could go back to the neighbor thing, like things happening in your neighborhood that you have to invest more into, certain things to keep the riffraff out. And that's one possible way. It's not the strongest thing I see here. There's also, Saturn in the 11th could be you have stepped up to some kind of social commitment, any kind of commitment in any kind of group of friends, group of professionals, anything with more than one person that you're stepping up to a responsibility in, but that responsibility, you don't make money while you're doing that thing, or somehow it affects your finances or your love life in a negative way, or you have to sacrifice something that you enjoy doing because you have to do this like responsibility kind of a thing. That's just like a little thing that can be happening at this time. But the bigger themes here for Taurus are going to be on the really on the that 12th house of like endings, of transformation, kind of, of spirit guides. Jupiter in the 12th is spirit guides. It's connecting to a new faith. That's a really, really strong possibility here. Or some of you Tauruses might have something to do with mediumship popping up in your life, because we have here your 8th house ruler in that 12th house. 8th house is like things that are beyond the veil. 12th house is like also kind of the same. So it's like connecting to ghosts, connecting to the other side, maybe getting messages from a passed away loved one and then not knowing how to deal with that. Maybe going to seek that out, maybe going to a medium or someone like that to support you in moving on and recovering from whatever you've been through. So we'll go ahead and stop there for Taurus and moving on to the next sign, which is Gemini. Oh, and Taurus, by the way, think back to what was happening with your 12th house of spirit guides, spirituality, isolation, meditation, contemplation, and the meaning of life and other people's money. How did all that, how did all that come about? Perhaps, and there's more potentials here for Taurus. Perhaps a settlement you lose. That's one of the possibilities. I'm sorry, but perhaps you lose in a settlement, or perhaps if you get a divorce, maybe it doesn't feel like you're losing your money. It feels like you're losing their money that you wanted to get, or something like that could possibly happen here. Another thing is you could actually have some kind of intimate connection with a partner where maybe they're investing in your mental health for you. They're helping you out with your spiritual studies. So it could go either way, where either their money goes to the 12th house stuff. So that's like spirituality, psychology, archetypes, anything like that. Or they pay for a retreat for you, something like that. Or because the 12th house is the house of loss, you were going to get that and you lost it somehow. For the purpose of and it's all for the purpose of, being more comfortable in your own skin, being more grounded and, furthering your own life direction with that North Node in the first. Okay, moving on now to Geminis. Taurus, remember to think about what was happening related to all that stuff for you back in April of 2004 through October 2004. Okay, Geminis, finally, really, really this time. All right, so Gemini, sun, moon, and rising. You guys, this eclipse is happening in your 11th house of friends, groups, and hopes and dreams. This is also the money from the work you've done. This is a solar eclipse, so which means it's a new moon eclipse. And so that means new beginnings in friends, new friends, you guys. Go Geminis, new friends. Now, why new friends? Did old friends get eclipsed out of your life? Now you got to make new ones? Did you just get a new hobby that's more active that now you're going to go do? Did you meet a partner who's now they have a friend group? And I shouldn't say did because this is upcoming. Are you going to meet a partner who has a friend group who you click with and now you make all kinds of connections with that 7th house ruler being Jupiter conjunct the eclipse? And remember, you guys, the moon will be at 29 degrees for this. It's just I can't change my chart to that without changing the rising sign. So we have that 29-degree eclipse in that 11th house. New friends, new beginnings with peer groups, new professional associations. Maybe you are starting on some new projects to further your career. But what's interesting is that North Node in the 12th makes it feel like maybe it's not to further your career. Maybe it's to further your feelings of just being okay. Like maybe you're finding that when you hike in a group, you feel much better, or doing things that are active and engaged with other people that are more physical. And that could range, from like hiking to cycling to anything moving your body, to cardio, to, going to a shooting range, or like learning archery, or like, I don't know, sword fighting, anything. Anything with weapons. Now, for some, this could be cooking classes because Aries rules sharp objects and Taurus rules food. So like learning how to cut the food and like that kind of stuff, like culinary classes. That's only going to be like 3 people or something. Most of you won't be that specific, but new beginnings to groups of people that maybe have some Aries themes of aggression or dominance or action, and having that Jupiter from that 7th house being, maybe a partner is like a significant other is taking you out to these things. Maybe significant other or a really good friend gives you some counsel or gives you some ideas on how to kind of improve your life, or gives you some kind of wisdom and direction that either becomes somehow connects to your hopes and dreams and how to move forward on them, or somehow connects to again, friends, groups of people. Some of you will be taking some new classes or doing something that's in groups that is maybe just something new, or something that with Chiron here and Jupiter here, it makes me feel like something maybe you thought you couldn't do. Now you're like, I'm going to do it, right? Like you thought you couldn't be a singer. Now you're going to go do it. You thought you couldn't paint. Now you're going to go paint. Working through that Chiron mood of I'm not capable, or I'm afraid that I'll be rejected in a group, so why even go? Sort of that little bit of a theme here. Now, that's not super strong for you because that's not necessarily your natal placement. For a lot of you watching, it won't be. So it's like a temporary theme to be working through. Other things that can be happening, let's talk about Mars here. Mars in the second in Cancer. So Mars in the second will stimulate your desire to make money. Mars in the second in Cancer will not necessarily give you the money, if that makes sense. This is kind of a money transit for you guys because the 11th house is money from the work you've done, and the second house is money. So you have an eclipse in money from your work house that's like eclipsing something from your life or into your life, and Mars bringing tension to that. So maybe you have to cut ties with a former way of making money during this time, Geminis, in order to make more money, or in order to get the money from the work you've already done. Or like, let's say you had a social media. It's like maybe your social media grew to a point where now you have to do different things to make money because the old way of making money doesn't work anymore. If you have a job, maybe you get assigned some new things where it's not comfortable anymore. The stuff you were good at before, that job's now obsolete, or that job now went to someone else, or for some reason they need you doing something else that's not as comfortable, or that is not as secure, or that is you have to disconnect from something you liked or you enjoyed, or you get put in a different department and now you don't get your favorite coworkers anymore. But it's more with Mars in the second, though, this feels more to me like even some of you might be like getting rid of possessions, like getting rid of some kind of old um, family heirloom or things you had for a long time. Some of you might be cleaning up that. Some of you might be changing your bank, cutting ties with something you're comfortable with financially. Um, some of you might be cutting out certain foods. That could be part of this, where it's in order to, now the 11th house is our hopes and dreams. So think about it. You can have a hope and dream to be a bodybuilder and then cut out certain foods that stop you from having that hope and dream. So this is one way for Geminis this could show up. Obviously, you're not all going to be bodybuilders, but maybe, especially with this, Mercury and Uranus so close here in that 12th house, it's almost like you could be divinely inspired to change your direction, or you could have an old dream die. Gosh, this is so positive. You could have an old dream die, Geminis. How exciting is that? But sometimes that can actually be something that helps us, even though it's not a pleasant experience. It's not fun to feel like, oh, that dream isn't real anymore. But what happens after that moment of clarity is then you can invest your time and energy into the dreams that are now. This could be more of a psychological experience for Geminis, where you just realize something you used to want to do for money or for your job, you don't want to do it anymore. Maybe because you started doing it and realized you don't like it. It's not the nostalgic, romantic thing you thought it was going to be. Okay, so then let's just touch on Saturn scoring Venus. Venus in the first house being, usually that makes you hotter, so more attractive, more alluring. So single Geminis during this eclipse, just know that. And plus the eclipse dealing with that seventh house, there can be some relationship stuff going on here. where it's almost like if there was a breakup here, though, it feels like there's something about the hopes and dreams that aren't lining up, or the partner's financial goals and your financial goals, they're not the same anymore, or something else along those lines where someone has to cut off the partner, and maybe there was some money making connected here. Some of you could be severing a business partner relationship, for those who that makes sense, or ending a contract that was already set to end. But it does feel usually eclipses are a little bit more sudden, or just like different. It's almost like you have a contract with someone, maybe you find out they broke the contract and you didn't know it, that kind of thing. You guys, I try to find the most positive. Sometimes it is what it is. So this Saturn squaring Venus, there might be a need to sacrifice something for a position in life, a position in work. When Saturn transits your 10th house, this is a time to really step up to new work responsibilities. So if you get offered, Geminis, some kind of responsibility in your work, or a promotion, it does feel like that energy to me, where there's something you can do to further your life direction in a way you want it to go, but that there might be a financial decrease or a financial change as a result. For Geminis who maybe working isn't on the radar, some of you perhaps, and I'm not predicting this, but one thing that could make sense with these energies for some is like having a baby, where it brings more responsibility to your role in life. You need to cut back expenses, or, focus your money, focus on making money so you can pay for the baby. But then there's this hope and dream that's born out of this that is beautiful, and that will, if this is something you want, will probably bring some happiness and fulfillment. So that's like an example of a change to your dreams in life that maybe is expected or isn't expected, that ends up causing some kind of, either speeding up of making money, or change to money, and then some kind of sacrifice to, your own looks, or your own body, or your own life direction. That's like something something that's a guilty pleasure that you don't get to do anymore, right? So if you get pregnant, you can't drink anymore, or like other things like that, right? So just fill in the blank with whatever would apply to you for this. If you have a job, that's your life direction, 10th house. If you have a kid, if you're a parent and you don't have a job, well, then your role in life is parent. So just think about how your role in life is giving you more responsibility. And if you want more on this, think back to what was happening in your life within all these themes of groups, friends, relationships and friends combined, or relationships and money and work and role in life, and all of that. Think about what was happening back in April to October of 2004 in these areas to get more on that. So that is what I have for Geminis. Moving on now to the next sign, which is Cancer. Okay, so for Cancers, remember the moon will be at 29 degrees during this eclipse. It's just not on this software in particular, but that is where it will be. Cancers, solar eclipse in the 10th house. Let's talk about it. Changes to your work, to your role in life, to your job, especially what you're recognized for, right? Because the 10th house isn't just the work we put in. That would be the 6th house. The 10th house is the work that we get recognized for, our role, our job, our position in society. So if you are employed, it's going to be your job. If you are not employed and you don't want to be employed, that's not on the radar right now. It's going to be what you do as a human. Like, are you a writer? Are you a baker? Are you an architect? The thing you identify with as your role in life. If you're a parent, this will be being a parent. Whatever your sort of full-time job is, even if it's a job you don't get paid for, that's your 10th house, and it's what people see, right? So what you're doing in society, big changes that may require, breaking away from something or cutting away from something to further your career, further your job. Now, we have the eclipse in the 10th house, and then we have Mars here in the first house of you, your identity. So it's almost like slicing away at a certain piece of your identity that is old, outdated, or needs to go, right? Like you used to see yourself as this person, but now it's time to step up and become this new person. Now, occasionally when we see a 10th house, first house square, this would be something like you have to change your hair for the place you work or do something else related to your own personality and your own self-expression, where you have to sort of sever from that version of yourself in order to take a job. So again, that can be like cutting your hair for work, wearing a uniform you hate. It could be doing some other change to how you come across, your personality, anything like that for a job. And so some Cancers are going to make changes to further their career. Some might start new jobs, but it doesn't even feel like this does not feel like job loss to me. It's possible. It's possible for some, but it doesn't feel like that. It feels more like job change, new job, new responsibility at work, something that puts a little bit more action into what you're doing, something where you're maybe starting something new that like it's like enough is enough, about time, I got to go after this. Some of you might be starting something new and doing some kind of courses to educate yourself for that thing, especially with Saturn here in the ninth, like sacrificing, having discipline to learn something. Saturn scoring Venus, discipline that you don't get as much time to enjoy your free time with that Venus in the 12th, which you wish you could, but you got to go for what's next. There can be a bit of need to let go of the past when it comes to work. I don't know, like maybe a job you thought you wanted. Now you, I don't know, let go of the idea of that job. Maybe you had it in your head that you were going to get to work part-time and now you can't. There's something from the past possibly, or something related to family that might need to get cut away for work. Some Cancers, it's like you got to work more hours, you get less time with your family, something really basic and straightforward like that. For others, you're really busy because Mars in the first, it really stimulates your energy, right? So you'll be busier, possibly trying to achieve something. And for a lot of you, it's so you can make more money. Because that North Node in Taurus in the 11th is like changes to your work, changes to your employment, changes to your job, your role, stepping up to do more, overcoming the fear you can't do things, Jupiter helping out, Jupiter helping give you ideas. And what does Jupiter rule? Your 6th house. So Cancers, a lot of y'all are doing more work right now. A lot of you guys are busier, doing more, taking on a second job, working overtime to get that money, that kind of thing. Especially with that 6th house ruler, some of you could be getting recognized for something you've already done in your 6th house, especially if you've been working on some long-term project you're trying to put out. This might be the artists out there, the writers out there, especially publishing, maybe the what else? Anyone creative, any kind of work that you would have to spend, a year doing it or 7 years getting really good at it, and then you push that thing out. A lot of Cancers during this eclipse may have to push that thing out, whatever that thing is. And that thing is probably going to make you some money, or the purpose is to make money. The goal is to make money. So again, if you've like been sculpting a sculpture, or if you've been whatever your skills you've been devoting your time to, this might be a time where you're like cashing in on that, overcoming the fear that it's not good enough, overcoming the fear that I can't do it as well as other people. And Jupiter kind of helping push that out, your own skills, your own work, helping you push out more work. Some of your coworkers might be encouraging you to take a risk. Others of you could have themes related to the 6th house beyond that, like Um, I don't know. Some of you might be like taking care of family and now you have more work to do. Some of you might be something with your pet becomes more visible. Okay, that's only going to be a few people, but maybe you figure out how to make money off of your pets or make money off of animals or something. For cancers, that could be a possibility. It's not everyone, it's just one possibility. For others, maybe somehow your child, if you have adult children who make money, they could be investing in something you're trying to do and helping you out. You could have one of your kids helping you at work. So those who have like businesses, maybe you get one of your children to like do certain things for you. So I just think of like, I don't know, like moms who are coaches who are like teaching their kids how to do certain work for them and then they get to pay them and it's like, you know, a good deal for everyone. Um, because the kid gets skills and the mom gets labor, cheap labor. Of course, within limits. What else do I see? Yeah. Also that Saturn in the ninth, while this isn't in aspect to the eclipse, it still is something that will kind of put focus on taking responsibility in areas of education, in areas of publishing. So again, this is part of where I'm getting this feeling like cancers might be pushing things out, publishing something, launching something. It may be a book, but it could also be launching your oracle deck, or launching anything, launching stuff. Launching feels really like another theme. There's stress though. It's like stressful launching, having to really like finalize everything and push something out. There's a feeling of urgency here too. Let me think. Yeah, okay, yeah, and so, again, with Mars being the ruler of your 10th too in the first, it's like sometimes, this is a transit, so it's not always, but sometimes this has to do with being a personal brand or somehow, like, having your social media image be more popular. Now, for some Cancers, that's a possibility, and it could be something that's more of a challenge. I don't know, like someone put a video of you on the internet, now your boss is pissed at you. Or for others, it could be this is something you were trying to do for those Cancers who have their own businesses or they're doing social media. And it's like your focus at this time is like pushing out that, like getting known, if that makes sense. So let me know, Cancers, if any of that makes any sense to you based on where your life is right now. We're gonna move, and for Cancers, just think about when it comes to work, your role, your image, your money from the work you've done, and your own life direction. What was happening back in 2004, April to October? This will give you idea of certain themes, especially with relationship or not relationships, with work, and like pushing out stuff from the work you've done, how that may have affected you or how that may have showed up back then. That may just give you clues to the themes happening now. So we're going to move on now to Leos. For Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising, we have this happening in your ninth house. So Leos, just know that the moon here should be at 29 degrees. And that 29 degrees is actually in that ninth house, even though it doesn't look like it. Okay, that being said, ninth house, new beginnings in publishing, the law, the meaning of life, spirituality, traveling abroad, foreigners, astrology, um, yeah, astrology or magic or things that are spiritual and deep that have tenets or rules that you can learn. Yeah, new beginnings to that stuff. And maybe something you feel like you need to urgently push out. Some of you might be publishing a book, right? So if it's that, it's just that. That's not everyone though. For you, you might be going to school, or you back. I don't know where we got cut off, but if you guys can see me now, please comment below so I know we're good. And let me see if I can tell where we got cut off. We will see. Ha, misfortune. I was eclipsed. I gotta get better Wi-Fi, guys. Did you guys hear anything about Leo? I'll just restart Leo again. So forgive me if we have to go through it again, but I don't want Leos to get screwed on that. So Leo, solar eclipse in your ninth house is going to bring changes to the following topics: publishing, travel, or legal matters, or the meaning of life, or studying. It's probably one of those things. It's probably not all of those things. So if publishing makes sense, maybe you're publishing something, or you are, finally pushing something out, finalizing the finishing touches to publish something for your career or for your role in life. Some of you might be studying so you can, it's like anything you're doing in this ninth house is so you can move forward in that 10th house. Studying something so you can pursue more money, more security, more abundance in your career, more stability, so it's like learning astrology so you can charge money for it, or learning anything, any kind of deep topic, and it can be philosophical or not, in-depth education so you can work at something, so you can have more money, more self-worth, more grounded stability. Travel. Some of you might be traveling abroad. Not all Leos are going to travel abroad. Some of you might be. If you are, it's like for work, it's not like the Peace Corps. It's like for, unless the Peace Corps is a part of a much longer lifelong goal that it will give you. Like maybe you want to be a politician, so then you go into the Peace Corps so everyone thinks you're a good person and you can put it on your resume or whatever. I don't know. It's like that. It's like this ninth house stuff where it's like this urgent need or this push to kind of go after either learning something or going abroad, traveling somewhere, or something related to foreigners or foreign affairs, or publishing. You could be publishing something. And because Jupiter rules your fifth house of creativity, you could be publishing a work of art, right, that you've been working on. Again, a book could be that, or any kind of work of art. You could be publishing that and putting that out there and being like, I finally got to do this so it can be part of my career, so I can put it in my portfolio, or so I can put it on my resume. Oh, I need to put the chart up, you guys. Let me grab that. Let me grab it. Okay. So now you can see what we're talking about. So yeah, Leos, publishing something to further your career. Some of you might be doing something related to, if you have kids, your kids are learning something. You're sending your kids off to school. You're getting them involved in a course or a class. You're teaching them stuff just to feel like, and if you're teaching your kids stuff, it's like, so they can carry on your legacy, kind of a thing, that kind of thing. So that's not everybody. For others, it's something creative is really influencing you to learn more, study more, travel, to promote it, connect with foreigners. So it, goes to the ends of the earth. That kind of thing. So, this could be someone who has an oracle card deck, who gets all these different YouTubers in different countries and gets them to use it on their channels, anything that gets your name out there in some way, or your brand out there in some way, or your business. Now, for those who are having a job right now, this could be studying to have a better next job, or studying to eventually have a good job, or be able to ask for a raise. But it feels like it's a little bit more big than this and a little bit more long-term than this. Other things that go in the fifth house are self-employment. So again, publishing things related to your business. If you're self-employed, if you're not self-employed, Other things in the 5th house are fun. So like having fun abroad, having fun publishing something, having fun learning, bringing joy into your life, bringing joy into your teaching. If you're a teacher in any capacity, bringing joy into how you do your lessons. Trying to have more fun in life, really caring about what's meaningful in your life, and maybe severing and cutting out some stressors, maybe cutting out some of your, even some of your like quiet time. Like maybe you used to have some quiet time. Now you don't get as much, but your life speeds up and it's a little bit more fun at this time. Perhaps, let me think about, Mars in the 12th also can be a little bit of hidden anger that is revealed to you from yourself or others. So some Leos it's almost like you publish something and you realize someone who you thought was your friend is actually a hater. And they come out of the woodwork, haters coming out of the woodwork. It doesn't feel like you're surrounded by them, but it does feel like a little bit of tension here between you kind of going for something, expanding your horizons mentally, educationally, professionally, expanding your resume or expanding your world view, getting out of your little town. But then it's like with that 9th house ruler in the 12th, maybe you have to face something that, I don't know, maybe you have to cut out something you thought was going to be meaningful, or maybe you end up realizing a spirit guide you believed in now isn't real, where it's like you learn some new discipline and you're like, oh my gosh, that other thing I believed in that I thought I was connecting to was actually a demon, like, sorry, Leos, I'm not trying to predict that negative stuff, but that would be from learning exactly what a demon feels like or exactly what an angel feels like. This is just one person probably, but it's like that 12th house severing. It's possible some Leos are going to cut away from a belief system they used to feel was really meaningful. And it's like, you just don't get meaning out of that anymore. So you have to kind of, it's like you've been praying to a God that now you realize you just don't want to pray to anymore, or you feel like isn't quite right anymore for some reason. So there can be some things with this eclipse around faith, the meaning of life and what's meaningful. Other Leos can be having some financial stuff, or not financial, legal stuff going on here, where it's like, it's possible it could be a lawsuit or anything you've done dealing with the law. Now, if you work in the law, this would be your work, right? So if you're in the courthouse or you're a judge or you do something that deals with the law in any capacity, this could be, that job ending so you can retire, or that job changing and possibly having a little bit more free time as a result of job changes like that. Yeah, but it's all about, it all comes back to, with this one with the North Node and the 10th, is like, it's all about where you're heading and really kind of what you're doing to kind of grow and move on from whatever you've been doing. So just to clarify here, that eclipse is in the 9th, all about the law, education, or travel, or the meaning of life and big changes to that. Big changes to that you might have to, or you might relate to, like cutting things off that were part of your spiritual practice, or you might get less vacation time, or you might get less time to yourself to contemplate, or you might be somehow needing to move beyond some nostalgic thinking related to what life really means. You might move beyond teachings from your childhood that you believed in, but now you're beyond that. Other things like that. And your kids might be helping you, your creativity might be helping you, or even your parents' money could help you out with this one. Going on now to the next sign, which is Virgo. So this is good for Virgo, sun, moon, or rising. And if it's rising, it's going to tell you more about what's happening in the physical world. So Virgos, this eclipse is in your 8th house of sex, death, other people's money. So big changes related to taxes, related to accounting, related to someone you like, your partner, if you're in a relationship, their money. Anyone who up until now you have been relying on financially to help support you, that where it's not your money from your work. Other things that can come in this house are like royalties, or especially royalties from projects you've done with other people, and money from investments. Investments, taxes, any kind of financial stuff like that. Also, eighth house is intimacy. So this could be big changes to your intimacy, one way or the other. So if you are in a relationship, this could be, it's possible some relationships could end, but maybe not. Maybe it's you get more intimate with the person, or maybe sometimes if you're in a relationship and your eighth house gets hit like this or gets a transit like this, it's actually their job that changes and their money that changes. So that's one thing to watch out for on everything with astrology. Sometimes it's the other person in your life, but it just affects you. Like if your partner makes less money, that affects you. So because it's in Aries, because you don't have Saturn here right now, some of you might be taking out loans. You might be, starting something related to taxes or interest or investing or royalties or any of those topics, right? So it may not be an eclipsing out. It's a solar eclipse. It might be an eclipsing in of those things. And so that's that eighth house. Let me think. Sex goes in the eighth house. So I guess for someone who maybe if your work has to do with sexuality, that could be a thing. I don't feel like all my Virgo risings are going to start becoming prostitutes, but some of you might. Some of you might. It's a possibility. Mediumship and connecting to the other side goes in the eighth house. So it is a possibility. Some Virgos, especially Virgo risings, could have some mediumship abilities start opening up or come through, although that's not going to be everyone. All right, so then for Virgos, we're going to go to now. So that was mostly what we see in the eighth house. Transformation is also in the eighth house. So sometimes it's about consciously or not expanding your, making your aura bigger, making your world bigger. Now, the way this can sometimes show up for eighth house transits is like doing things that are going to expand your mind or expand your psyche. So that can be like joining a transformational program. That could be doing some other spiritual practices that have the purpose of mind expanding. That kind of thing. So you could be consciously doing that, or, this could happen to you. So like one example of how that could happen to you would be like a near-death experience or some other thing where you didn't really go seek it out. It just showed up. And then now your whole life is totally different. Now, not every Virgo rising is going to have a near-death experience, but it's just one remote possibility, especially with the sun being at Aries. Sun and moon at Aries at that 29 degree of like, something's got to give here. It might feel like something's got to give. I got to pay my taxes. Something's got to give. I got to take out a loan. Something's got to give. I got to start, making money off stuff long term and like creating stuff that I can get paid for royalties for years after I've done the work. Something's got to give in this relationship. If you're single, something's got to give. I'm lonely. I got to connect. Those kind of things. So that's kind of what I see just for that house. Now going on to where is Mars? Mars in Cancer in the 11th. Some of you may be cutting ties with certain groups of friends. Others of you may be making more friends that, worst case scenario, Virgo risings, you could make friends and have like someone be bullying you from that friend group that ends up really kind of triggering some fears. For others, though, you can have a friend who like leads you and helps you and supports you. You can make a friend in a group or when you're networking that wants to help you overcome your fears or overcome your psychological limitations. Some of you might be letting go of an old hope and dream. That could be, right? Because Mars in the 11th, severing. Mars severs. So like again, like an experience that opens you up to the other side or opens you up to something psychologically that makes you realize, I don't want to do that anymore. You could be cutting off something related to your hopes and dreams. If you have an audience on social media, you could be somehow downsizing that audience. You could downsize the amount of people who follow you in some way. You could be setting limits on, I don't know, like capping certain things you're doing on social media, if that applies to you. Others, you might be really stimulated in terms of that 11th house of joining new networks or professional associations, even though this eclipse doesn't look as, on one hand, it doesn't look as work related, but there is, that eighth house. If you're self-employed, sometimes the eighth house ruler will relate to self-employment. So like having that planet in the Cancer is like, what part of your business, if you're self-employed, is like just an emotional band-aid, and what part is actually necessary? You might be going through that phase where it's like, I really care about doing this, but I can't keep growing and expanding, just doing the things that are comfortable. Now, that could be in all areas of life, not just business. What thing are you doing for your kids that your kids don't even need you to do, but you feel better doing it? You know what I mean? Like those kind of things. Now apply that to whatever areas of life are more significant to you. And think about how Jupiter is your fourth house ruler here in the eighth house. Some Virgo risings may be taking out a loan to buy a house and overcoming that fear of not being capable of paying it off. Others of you might be somehow, I don't know, like I feel like owing on something related to home. I don't know. You find out a house you lived in now wants money or something like that. That would be like the worst case scenario. I don't really want that to be true, but maybe, you already had a loan and now the payments are going to start. So now you pay for that kind of thing. So like, like you bought the house. I don't know how this stuff works. But somehow it's like now the payments are due, right? And it's something related to house or home or hometown. So for some, it's possible some Virgo risings, you get a house in your inheritance, but a lot of Virgos, that's not going to be it. So I don't love that because some people get scared. But, yeah, inheritance does go in the eighth house. You do have Jupiter there. It is at the 29 degree. That is one possibility. Other possibilities here. Let me think for Virgos. We'll just touch on here Saturn squaring over to Venus in the 10th. So Venus in the 10th is like kind of good for making money, but Saturn is going to have you want to sacrifice the joy of something related to your career. So this could be some family stuff or relationship stuff happens, and as a result, you got to spend more time on building trust with people or helping other people go through their psychological challenges. You might be a friend who just had a death or something happen in their life is leaning on, and you're the one who's like helping them and supporting them and like giving them words of wisdom. Others of you with that North Node in the ninth, the eclipse changes to your intimacy or your financial situation. Most likely one of those two are like for the purpose of helping you start teaching or helping you move to another country or helping you connect with something more meaningful. It's like these changes to your psychology or like your level of trust or your level of openness is now allowing more of a focus or a forward momentum toward building meaningful things in life, whether that be financial or otherwise. That North Node Taurus in the ninth is like enjoying things. It can be enjoying things, enjoying the senses in another country, like traveling abroad, doing stuff to travel abroad. For others, it's not going to be that. It might just be like, again, teaching a course, using your voice to do something ninth housey. So speaking about a course or singing or creating something related to the senses that makes people feel better. There's a lot of possibilities here, but overall, it's transforming you so you can be more embodied in your what's meaningful to you, the things that are meaningful to you. So that's what I have for Virgos. We're going to go. Oh, yes, Libra is next. For those of you Libras in the chat who are excited about this. All right. Moving on now to Virgos now, or sorry, Libras. For Libra, keep in mind, guys, that the moon is at 29 at this eclipse. We're just not going to see it on this chart because I'm going through the different rising signs. So we have Libra here. And we have the eclipse in the 7th house of relationships. Not all Libras are going to break up, okay? And also for Virgos, think about what was happening in your life with taxes, money, debt, or inheritance, gifts of money, anything like that back in 2004 from April to October. And I just remembered something about mine when I said that. Going on now to Libras. So for Libra, we have, again, this eclipse in your 7th house does not mean that you are going to end a relationship. Some will. Okay, some will. Some will start new ones. Some will have a change to their partner's life, right? So it's like, this is where the relationship you're in, maybe some big change is now not possible, or something that some major facet of your relationship is totally going to be different. For others who don't have relationship changes, it's possible. Most Libras though are, because I know you guys, and I know you guys love being in love. You love, Libra really does have a need to experience life through their relationship with others. It's almost like you see yourself in that, right? It's not like you are who you date, but just a little bit. So highly likely this will be relationship stuff. It's possible this could be close friend, or even clients for Libras who have businesses, and for Libras who maybe just are in a season of life where they are single. Okay. So major new beginnings though in love, shakeups, courage, the feeling of needing to step up to something. So for some, it might be a feeling like, okay, I need to stop being so single. For others, it might be in your relationship, finding a way to step up and get what you want, and like kind of boldly and courageously face something in the relationship. This could be about sex, you guys. This could be about sexuality with that North Node in the 8th house, where it's like having the courage to make a change that allows a deeper level of intimacy, whether that's trust or whether that's quality. Some Libras will be making commitments in love at this time, and that might be what changes. Others may not, and that's fine too. But it does feel like making changes that require courage, that bond you with another person. For some, it could be something like your partner's life changes. They get a job at a new location, and now you quit your job and go where they're going, right? With that Mars in the 10th, it feels like there might be tension between your role in life and what your partnership needs from you. Or if you're single, your role in life and what your friends need from you, your role in life and what your clients need from you. Something probably in your 10th house of work and career may be downsized or changed. You may realize ways that the work that you've been doing is like you're a little stuck in the past in some way, and now it's time to change that. That's another way that could show up. What else for you guys? Well, with Venus in the 9th during this eclipse, that's you. So you are wanting to kind of go beyond. You want to learn more. You want to maybe focus on something related to your higher education or the meaning of life or learning astrology or yeah, something like what's meaningful is be a question here to a workplace that is just less comfortable, right? So it's like the lady who was nice to everyone now. So it's like the lady who was nice to everyone now or comforting in the office now suddenly isn't there. The best HR person, your best friend at work now isn't there anymore, or something else like that, where there's that kind of a thing happening. Mars is also your seventh house ruler. So it's like your partnership. Some of you could have a relationship where they're just causing trouble at your job and like fighting with your boss and doing it. That's a possibility too. Let me see what else. Yeah, I mean, really, really, you guys, eclipses in the seventh house really do end up oftentimes being relationships. This is an angular eclipse, so it's gonna hit both sides of this axis because we'll have the other eclipse will be actually. Let me check that. I don't think it's in Libra. I think it's in a different sign. Um, I'm checking this, Libras. Don't be mad. Scorpio, yeah. So that's not true. Forget I said that. Um, ah, is my screen showing? Hold on. I'm just checking. Yes, okay. Okay. Back to Libra. Back to that seventh house. It really is relationship, relationship, relationship. Now, this might be your partner is mad at you for something you did in the past, or you're mad at them for cheating on you or something crazy like that. It could also be, I'm trying to apply this to the single ones, to the single Libras. This might be more of romanticizing about a past relationship. Sometimes when you're single and you have seventh house transits, it's either you can't get over the person or you're kind of like stuck on the fact of how single you are. You're thinking about it and not necessarily in a way that's going to bring love in. But you did, I haven't talked about Pluto for anyone else. We're going to talk about Pluto for you guys because Pluto's changing how you date. And that happened last month. So some of y'all, it's like it's changing your desire romantically. So there's like something happening here with Libras on a really sexual level where maybe how you flirt is changing, whether you flirted or not. Think about on one hand what was happening in 2020, end of 2020, early 2021 when it comes to your flirting and your dating life or your kids. And then think about also what was happening in your relationships back in 2004, April to October, what was changing. That's going to give you a really good idea of what might be coming up if you can like kind of sort of put those two things together. And I think with Mars and Cancer, if you're a Libra and you have kids, you might find this is a time where it's like separating yourself from the role of mom or dad, and somehow kind of asserting your own independence in that kind of a way. Some of you might be, some of you actually, some of you Libras might be starting your own business or finalizing that new beginning. Like you've been working for a boss for a certain amount of time and maybe you love them, but it's like it's time to take the risk. Now, I'm not recommending that especially with like Saturn the sixth. I wouldn't, I wouldn't recommend that. And I wouldn't even say on a general reading, let me rephrase that because I wouldn't want to recommend or not recommend anything based on a general because I can't see what's happening in your chart. But it's not like this will be if Libras are starting their own businesses and leaving a job to do it. It's probably an emotional separation under this eclipse, and it's probably a risk. And it would probably be like you've already done X amount of work to get yourself to a place where now the only thing left to do is leave. That's kind of the energy of this 29 degree of Aries to me. It's like the only thing left to do is jump out of the plane, and you've got your parachute. You did everything. You're sitting there in the edge of the plane. Are you going to jump? And I'm not pushing anyone to jump if that doesn't make sense. The universe might push you too, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about that. All right, so that is pretty much what I have for Libras. Um, yeah, so we're gonna move on now to Scorpios. Scorpio, this is happening in your sixth house. So an eclipse in your sixth house is going to be a change to your work. Now it could be, it's not always a job loss. It can be, but it's not always. The sixth house is the work we do, but sometimes it's chores. Sometimes it's accidents, but sometimes it's like stuff we got to do that takes more time that we don't get paid for. It's like when you have more work at your job, but you make the same amount of money, or you have more dishes to do. You don't get anything for it. You just do more dishes. Or sometimes the sixth house in a positive manifestation is going to be devoting yourself to a craft, right? Because the sixth house is like when we work hard on building a skill, when we spend time, and not always going to get a lot back for that thing. Sometimes it can be, but it's like something might change with your daily schedule here, where again, like if someone gets in an accident, let's say you break your leg, you have to spend more time in the shower because you got to put the whole stupid, plastic thing over the cast. And then you got to do things in a different way. And that just takes time. It doesn't get you anywhere. It just gets you back to the person who had eventually, the cast comes off and you're okay, hopefully. But it's like this. I'm sorry, I'm not making this very exciting, Scorpios. I love you guys. Sixth house isn't my favorite house because it's just the shit you got to do. Some of you might be doing more chores in service of a lover. That could be a good thing, right? With that North Node in the seventh house, it's like you want to woo someone and you just take on more work to like give to them or support them. Others, it might go the other way where they're supporting you and now you want to do more for them. So that would be one positive manifestation here. Not every Scorpio is going to have that. Other sixth house topics, pets. Pets can be eclipsed out of your life. Coworkers can be eclipsed out of your life. You can have changes to your coworker dynamic because the sixth house is like subordinates is the key word. So it's like people who are below your rank usually. So it's possible during a sixth house transit like this to have something happen with coworkers that's like different. Like one of them gets put in a different department, you're no longer in charge, if that applies to you, to your life. Other house things are like your daily diet and your routine. So it's really possible that's the thing that Scorpios are dealing with, is like a diet change or a routine change. And that can be because of a relationship, or it can be not. Some of you might be like, finally, it's time. I got to change my diet. I got to go on that diet I've been telling myself, or, a doctor tells you have to or something. That's a possibility, but it's also possible that it's just you finally being like, I want to be more on my game, And let's see. So yeah, pets go in the sixth house. What else goes in the sixth house? Work, food, like what you eat. You sometimes it's also like working out and activity, stuff that you're doing regularly. So it's like some of you might start doing yoga or something. And because the ruler, because the North Node is in the seventh, it makes me feel like maybe you start doing yoga with a significant other or something like that. Now, others of you, it's just a season of working hard and just getting those reps in. Mars in the 9th in Cancer, ruling the 6th, is like maybe there's a need to align your daily actions with your what's meaningful to you. So it's almost like someone who's like, I believe in not eating chemicals in food, but like you're eating fast food. Or, where that kind of thing happens, where you have to kind of recalibrate your beliefs with your actions, or realize, and it feels like the cutting away is on the belief side here. So realize that you don't believe, like what you thought was true about certain work isn't. So it's almost like you have a belief that um, if you eat like, oh, if you eat kidney every day, and I'm not saying go do this, that you're going to be healthy. And then you have been eating kidney every day and you have some problem because you're not supposed to eat kidneys every day, right? So it's like, it's something like that, where it's like what you thought was going to happen from the work you've done, maybe you realize that's not quite how it goes. So there's a need to change that belief system to line up with reality. Like you think it's wonderful to be famous, and then you get famous and you go, oh shit, not really. Forget I said that. And you have to reconcile. So anything like this, where you have to reconcile the work you're doing every day with what you believe in. You might be doing work you don't believe in. You might be, you also might be like really devoting yourself right now to a certain higher power or spiritual practice that just requires some effort or some work, or is a little bit more intense than average. Some of you might be doing some work right now at the time of the eclipse, so you can travel or work related with foreigners, or having challenges with something that other countries or foreign affairs have to deal with. So it's almost like you were going to go to another country, but now your passport isn't going to work. So you got to save the money and work harder to get the money, that kind of thing. Gosh, what else, you guys? Oh, well, let's talk about Jupiter. Jupiter, your second house ruler in the 6th, you might be investing money into a 6th house topic. So that could be investing money in, if you have a business, this would be like when you start or not start, but when you're investing in like having someone else do the work for you. So you might hire someone if you have a business right now, having them do some of the more, like outsourcing some things so you can have more time in your relationship or with clients if you have clients. Others might be investing into, you might be just like buying something for your work that kind of like makes it better. So let's say you are a designer. Maybe you buy one of those extra monitors for your computer. So you have a really big monitor now. So like that, investing into your work kind of a way. It's not investing into as much really like long-term stuff. It's like investing into your work processes is kind of what I feel like for that. That one. Or you could donate something to your coworker. That's a possibility. But what else do I see here? The North Node in the 7th makes me feel like it's kind of all about feeling better in your own skin. And there's going to be something related to work or how you're spending your time every day, or some of the things that you've been doing on a regular basis that you're not in the stage of like getting the income from it or the outcome from it, but it's like maybe pouring a little bit more into that, maybe taking that next class, that next course that gets you a little bit more skilled, but it's like, it's not like you're just buying a course. It's like you're investing your time and energy to put in the reps and get good at something. And yeah, again, with the North Node there in the 7th, it's like, so you can ultimately live by your own values. So you can ultimately have more money, so that you can ultimately, if you want to have a family, provide for a family. If you're in a relationship, some people in relationships, Scorpios, might be doing more work again to support that relationship, to financially support that relationship. All right. Let me see what else here for Scorpios that I see. Yeah, again, that ninth to the sixth, again, lining your belief systems up with what you're doing. And it's almost like taking little courses that could lead you to a bigger one down the road, or um, something along those lines. So we're going to move on now to Sagittarius. For Scorpios too, you can look back to what was happening in your work and your relationships back in April to October of 2004 to see like what was going on there, what was changing, what new things were starting, and how much work you had to do, um, and how that was increasing at that time. It won't be exact, but it'll give you some clues to the themes that you might see happen now. All right, so Sagittarius. For Sages, this is happening in your fun house, eclipse in the fun house. It's probably not going to eclipse away your fun, though. It's probably going to bring you some new fun. You might realize, like, enough is enough. I got to go have more sex, have more adventures, be yourself more. Some of you might be like, I finally need to have kids. That's not going to be everyone. That's just going to be some people. But it's possible. It's possible Sag risings, especially, could have a kid under this transit, because it's like new beginning in that fifth house of children, healing what you thought you couldn't do. That leads you to what? Sixth house, more chores, more things to take care of on a daily basis. But this would be a way that would be more of a positive. Other ways this can show up for those who don't want kids, or it just doesn't make sense based on where you are in your life. This can be new beginnings in self-employment, or pushing through in a way that you've already been self-employed, like new beginnings, like starting new self-employment, or starting new ways of being or approaching your self-employment if you already work for yourself. So it's like, if you work for yourself, it's almost like enough is enough. I got to push this through and make it happen. And I got to make it happen by doing the work, sixth house, doing the reps, putting in the time, putting in the hours to do it, but also making sure that the hours you're putting in to do are actually getting you money back, not just busy work. It could be a time where you are starting, again, starting some new things. You could be hiring people or outsourcing. I see this for Scorpios and Sagittarius during this one, for those who have businesses, because it's like a new beginning in self-employment, and then the sixth house is subordinates. So it's like that North Node in the sixth, kind of, guiding you toward employing people. If you don't have your own business, new beginnings and fun in relationships, new dating, new flirting, being more flirtatious, like if you haven't been, especially, if you've been flirting all the time and you realize you need to take it down a notch and do more work and get more serious, you might be like, okay, enough is enough. I don't want this anymore. Especially with this Mars in the eighth. Mars in the eighth is like someone this could be someone you've been intimate with is being a dick to you, and you're like, get out of my life, cutting it out. Or someone you didn't really want to be that close to you is now way closer to you than you want them to be, and you're like, enough, get out. And that can be romantic, or it can be someone who has a crush on you who you're not into, and you're like cutting them off somehow, cutting them off from access to you, because ew, they're too close, kind of a thing. That's not going to be everyone. You could also have some new beginning with a hobby. You could start a new hobby, or go back to an old hobby that you stopped doing. You could start any kind of new hobby, any kind of new fun thing that helps you meet people, helps you connect with people, helps you develop trust with people. You may find that you start a new hobby, your partner doesn't like it if you're in a couple, and they're like, no, don't go paint, or, it's almost like you may find people really close on a really close level. This would be your close friends usually, or your relationship are sort of, against your business, or against what you like to do for fun, or criticizing you for the business you want to start, or criticizing you for how you raise your kids, or how you're having fun, or somehow coming against you, coming at you as like, especially with Mars in Cancer, it feels like not caring enough about their feelings. This doesn't tell us whether those feelings are appropriate based on the situation or not. But it does feel like there could be a bit of resentment in close relationships. There could be something that you start. Okay, some Sages, it's possible you could take out a business loan, but this feels more like starting a money-making thing to pay off a loan. Starting a side hobby to like pay off debt because the debt is getting to where you want to cut it down, cut down that debt kind of a thing. And with Mars in the 8th, it could be for some Sages, you get some kind of tax penalty or something, or like you have to pay on something related to inheritance, investments, or taxes, something related to when you get money in the divorce, like you're the one who has to pay, or like, what is that? Alimony? Is that an old word? I think that's an antiquated word, but when you divorce someone, they take your money. You might be the one whose money gets taken. Or it could be smaller than this. It feels smaller than this. It feels more irritating, like these little debts or these little charges you're getting on an investment, or somewhere where you're keeping your money or something. And it's like you start a new thing, or you're trying to deal with that by doing something in a different way. Or I don't know, like outsourcing your hiring so that you don't have to pay interest on something, or stuff like that, where that doesn't make sense, but just apply it to what makes sense for you. So for Sages who don't have businesses, you can just be doing more things that are fun and be dealing with some conflicts or some little irritations in your intimate relationships. Some of you may be needing to cut ties with an ex or something like that, especially if you have an ex situation where money is involved, especially with money and kids. This can be exes, money, and kids all getting dealt with, or I don't know, something where you start a new phase where you're like, okay, enough is enough. Or maybe their money stops coming, like you had child support and now the child support no longer is, or gets cut down to a lower amount. That's one way that could show up. But really, I talk about a lot of negative stuff for such a fun place for an eclipse. Again, you could just start a new creative passion. You could want to start singing again, or start painting again, or start a new one that you haven't done, and just want to get out and experience life. And it's possible some of that could be motivated by a little bit of claustrophobia in some kind of intimate connection. With Mars in the 8th, it's like some irritation, either with finances or irritation with, finances or current love. If you're in a love relationship where it's like, you just want to have fun again, almost is kind of how I feel. But it's like, it's making it possible with that North Node in the 6th for you to be more of service, or feel like that's one way it could show up, or just feel like your work life is moving in the direction you want it to move more. Let me see what else I can see for you, Sages. We do have Saturn in the 4th squaring Venus in the 7th, so it might be something where you're sacrificing time with a partner to do some creative passion, or your partner, for some reason, if you have a partner, is not quite as loving as they were, or you're making some foundational change to how you do client work if you have clients, or you're disconnected or not hearing as much good stuff from friends. Again, this could be challenges with, I don't know, like you don't have as much time with a friend, or a friend who is normally pretty cheerful is now grouchy as hell, or someone has a resentment at you and you hear about it, or something like that too. So that's what I'm going to say for that, for Sages. And we're going to move on now. Actually, before we move on, Sages, think about all these topics, especially of like children, self-employment, creativity, hobbies, fun, and work that was changing for you. Think of the changes happening back in from like April 2004 to October of 2004. And just think about what themes might have been coming up back then. That might give you some ideas on what's going to be happening now, or what themes might show up now. although it won't be exact. It'll just be some ideas. Okay, so the next sign here we have is Capricorn. For Capricorns, we have this eclipse happening in your 4th house. Hold on, Capricorn. We got to change this for you. 1 second. Let's see if we can. Shoot. Hold on. Let's see if we can do it this way. It's going to drive me nuts because it needs to be at 29. 1 second, you guys. Okay, better. I got it. Okay, so keep in mind the moon here will actually be at 29 degrees for this eclipse. It will be at 29 degrees of Aries, and this will be happening in your 4th house of home. So an eclipse in your 4th house of home is going to really shake things up when it comes to your home. So I mean, there's the literal, meaning of like changes to your home, changes to where you live, changes to now the changes can be to your family of origin, like changes to your parents that in some way that usually is going to affect you in a significant way. It can also be, again, moving or, sometimes changes to your home aren't moving. Sometimes you're adding on a wing to your house. Sometimes you're getting a roommate. Sometimes you're upgrading and you no longer need roommates. Sometimes you're, yeah, but that's still like moving. Okay. So that's one signification of the 4th house. The other is going to be your emotional security because the 4th house is our emotional foundations and what we need to feel okay, our sort of baseline of what feels comfortable to us on an emotional level that we develop since childhood, yada, yada, yada. So having an eclipse in the 4th house could possibly bring changes to how you soothe or comfort your own self when no one's looking, how you deal with your emotions, right? So sometimes you realize you need to step up to something and handle an emotional reaction that you need to like work through. That kind of thing can happen with a 4th house eclipse, but oftentimes we're going to see changes to the home or even possibly changes to how often you are home, right? Because it's like one of the changes to your home could be that you work from it now or you stop working from it. Those are other possibilities. So 4th house, it's angular, so it'll be significant. And, with Mars basically opposite you, this will be a significant eclipse. With Mars being the ruler of your 4th house and the 7th house, a lot of Capricorns during this eclipse might move in with a partner or move out, especially with that Mars. Mars feels more like a move out, but the topic of home gets put into your relationships. So it's possible too. Some Capricorns, it's like moving out with a friend or moving in with a friend. Those are other possibilities here. But moving is highlighted and not highlighted, but just a topic that's probably going to show up here. Moving or how much time you spend at home. For some, it could be something where your partner starts working from home and you guys start bickering more, or it's a little too close. You guys got to figure out some boundaries or something. It could be your partner is home more and maybe you're not, but like they're home all the time and that's like weird, or you're over at their house all the time or something like that. Where you're in that phase of the relationship where like you basically live together, but you haven't made it official yet. That's a possibility. Now with the North Node in the 5th house, it's like You might be changing things up in your home so you can be more creative. Like, so you could like be converting your garage into a studio or, something else along those lines where it's changing something in the home to allow for creative self-expression, allow you to feel like you are who you are. And for those of you in relationships, there could be a tension coming from the partnership where that's not been happening, where you kind of have to buck the authority of your partner and be like, no, this is my garage studio, deal with it. Or something else like that, where it's like that. For others, this could actually be like wanting to have kids. For those of you who that makes sense, where you want to make changes in your home for either a coming child or a hopefully future child or for a current child that you already have. The baby's too big for the bed or for the crib. Now they need a bed, or the kids need with bunk beds now, need their own rooms. They're getting old enough, those kind of things, anything like that. Other things I see possible for Capricorn here are, again, big changes to your emotional security. This could be something like you start meditating or you start journaling or you start doing some other practice that allows you to more deeply connect to how you feel. That's one thing. And this could, again, be that Mars in Cancer doesn't feel good to me for you guys. So it could be because you got out of a relationship and now you want to like get to know yourself again. It could be because you have a partner who's bickering at you or trying to control you or smothering you, and you're like, how do I deal with these emotions? Or there could be frustration in love, right? You could be frustrated not getting the object of your desire or tired of being single and just be like, wanting to make changes in your home for more sex. That is a possibility. Some of you Capricorns could be wanting to like make changes to your home in some way to like allow to host more good experiences with potential lovers. That could be a thing. That could be a thing. Yeah, and then again with Mars being the ruler of the 4th house, what's Jupiter for you guys? 12th house ruler, definitely really strong contemplation in your spirituality at home vibes here, because that 12th house of feelings you don't normally address, things that we kind of avoid looking at sometimes because we're busy and we got other stuff to focus on. Your contemplation, your spirituality, your spirit guides. It's like your spirit guides come visit you in your bed, or they come visit you at home, or you journal and you connect with them, or you pull some tarot cards, you start some kind of spiritual practice at home where it's like it's private. A private spiritual practice can be beginning. And that's one of the really positive things I see here is like the potential to feel that connection, the potential to use and connect with spiritual means or spiritual methods, especially things you realize about yourself on a spiritual level, to feel better about, where you stand emotionally and how you feel. That is really what I have for this one. So we're going to go on now to Aquarius. For Capricorns too, think about your home and your love life and what was happening back in 2004. Think about what was changing then, especially from April to October. If there was like one significant major change, those kind of themes may show up again. So now moving on to Aquarius. For Aquarius, the eclipse happening in the 3rd house usually makes you busy. Usually it's 3rd house usually is going to be something around how busy you are, how many errands you have to run, how much you have to do, taking little courses or classes. There can be a change to your siblings or your relationship with them. So maybe some Aquarius move away from their siblings. There can be a change to what you do every day, where you go, places you go eat or places you go shop. That could be because you move or for some other reason. There could be a change to how much you're getting out and about. There could be a change to your car. You could get a new car, or like your car could be eclipsed out of your life. or it could have some major changes that happen to it. With Jupiter in that third house, Jupiter making that third house better, it feels like maybe your car gets better, and Jupiter ruling your second house too. I didn't even think about that. Jupiter ruling that second house, you could invest money into a new car. You could invest money into the car that you have during this time. Some Aquariuses could start living out of their car. I don't think that's going to be most of you, but it's possible with that North Node in the fourth being home. It's like you invest in your car, it becomes home. I'm not advising that or anything, just what I see possible. You could be studying something that's like a big hope and dream. You could have a course or a class or a some kind of education you want that's you feel like it's gonna get you toward what you've wanted. You could be getting into a class you were hoping on getting into. You could be learning something you were hoping to learn. You could be busy, busy, working, doing stuff all the time. But it's not just working actually. With the third house, it's more like busy dropping your kids off at their practice, or busy with having a lot more to do, having more. It's almost like if you had a job and then you were learning something, and then the place you were learning it moves, so now your commute is longer. You could have a longer commute, that could be a thing, or you could have a shorter commute. Jupiter making that better, your dream job or your dream commute or your dream car is one possibility for Aquarius, not everyone. And again, a car could get, eclipsed out of your life, especially with Mars in that sixth house. Just watch out for like road rage or anything. Mars in the sixth also is a time when you're usually busy, you're usually working, you're usually got a lot to do. So it's almost like there's just more going on. Maybe you have some relatives come to town, right? Because the third house is also your cousins, your siblings, your aunts and uncles. Maybe you guys all get together. Maybe one of your cousins, aunts and uncles, or brother or sister comes stay with you for a little bit. Usually that would be it. It's possible you could stay with them. It feels more like they would be the ones coming to you in this scenario. Maybe a sibling's being a pain in the ass and, getting in the way of your work right now, or a cousin or an aunt or uncle. They're just interrupting you, calling you at work and stuff. Uh, but like you still need to deal with what they're doing. So you're trying to like squeeze in whatever they're doing into your break time and stuff. What else do I see for Aquarius? I feel like you'll be focused on making money. Some of you might be doing little courses or classes that, I don't know, either are just to broaden your mind, or you think that it'll help you make money long term. You might be facing, it's not like you're facing the worst money challenges ever. Sometimes it can be, but it's like that Mars Saturn relationship here is really jumping out at me for you guys. Saturn in the second of like financial hardship, Mars in the sixth of being busy. You might just have to have, some of you Aquarius are taking a second job or something, and now you just got more to fit in, but Jupiter's there helping, because it's like you want to be able to pay for your car, you want to be able to buy something, or you want to be able to book that astrology consultation or that next course you want to do, or anything related to Jupiter in your life. You want to go to yoga class, or something like that, where you're motivated to be able to spend your money in your community on the stuff you want to do. Or maybe something in your community got like the price went up, and so now you got to work a little more to be able to afford it. Something like that. Or you just got overtime and now you're busier, and yeah, that's about it. Maybe you're going to save that money to buy a house eventually. It could be a lot of things like that, but this really feels like busy, and it feels like probably money related, just because Jupiter rules your money house. It also rules your 11th house, which is a money from the work you do house, but also your hopes and dreams and friends. So your friends might be coming to visit you and you're busier. Your friends might be going on more trips to you. Your friends might be coming out to lunch with you more. Something with your friends that like makes your daily life better. So it's like your friends call you on the phone while you're doing stuff more, or I don't know, you carpool with them or something, or do like a ride share. I mean, there could be a lot of things here. And then that North Node in the fourth, that the ultimate desire of like having that that emotional security. So it's like everything you're working on now is to kind of stabilize your home, invest in your home, or invest in your own inner peace. Even though maybe it's more chaotic at this time, maybe there's work you got to cut out. Another thing is Mars tends to sever. So Mars in Cancer in that sixth, not everyone with Mars in Cancer is going to lose a job, but I feel like for a lot of Aquarius, there might be tension related to work. Maybe your hours got cut and now you got to figure out what you're going to do with yourself when you're not working, or spend that time, brainstorming on how to ultimately overcome that, or again, pick up more shifts to pay off some things, something like that happening as well. But yeah, it's possible too. Some of you could be focused on other third house topics I didn't mention, which are going to be things like writing a column, sales, marketing, things that you say repeatedly over and over. Some of you are just getting a lot more phone calls, answering the phones, doing the type of work right now that's more like receptionist, or more like, writing in little emails every day, things where you share communication, but those communications, they're not 500-page books. They're like little pieces of information, little emails, little Instagram posts, little Twitter tweets, all that kind of little repeated communication happening more. As it relates to work, that's another thing the third house can represent. It's also our mind. So you could have some change to what you think. Maybe a friend blows your mind and teaches you something. Maybe you learn something and now your mind is expanded and you're more enlightened. That's something that truly could happen during a transit like this, where if you're trying to do mindset work, if you're trying to move beyond an approach to, especially to money, because I know you guys have Saturn in that second house, this might be a time where you get that mind-blowing realization. It might not be the time you can put it into practice, but it's like there can be some kind of enlightenment or awareness that happens here. Okay, so now let's go to Pisces. Last but not least, whoops, we're going to go to Pisces. And then for Aquarius, think about, writing and teaching and learning in elementary education, your car, your siblings. Think about what was changing in your life back in 2004 from April till about October of that year, and think about those themes, how they may be showing up in your life now. So moving on now to Pisces. For Pisces, this is in your second house of money. An eclipse in your money house. It is possible it eclipses your money. I'm not going to lie. It's possible to have a financial change here, but because Jupiter is making it better, that's you. So even if this does end up in some kind of financial negative change, it's like you can make it better by being you, by applying discipline, by doing something about it. And to me, because it's a solar eclipse, it doesn't totally feel like you're going to lose money. It might be a new job. It might be a new job, especially because the sun rules your sixth house. Jupiter rules you. So like you doing new types of work and your work that you do making you money. So this is kind of, I'm actually going to say this is probably a more positive money transit for Pisces entering your first house. It might be a change that kind of gets you on the slow path toward your goals, because, excuse me, when Saturn is in that first house, it's like things can slow down, but it doesn't mean your life direction can't move. It's just it will move at a slow pace. So it's like, you might get a job that doesn't like knock it out of the park for your long-term goals, but maybe a job that like is the next indicated step toward the life you want to have, or the next indicated step toward the goals that you're setting right now. So then, yeah, Jupiter also rules your career. So yeah, the more I'm looking at this, the more I'm like, this should be positive financially for most of you Pisces, because your career planet is making your money better. The work that you do is making your money better. You have this, I didn't realize how kind of special this is for you. Your 10th ruler and your 6th ruler conjunct in the second house of money in an eclipse. So this almost feels like for Pisces, maybe it's like finally, especially if you've been working hard at something for a long time that's supposed to make money eventually, This might be finally you begin to make money off the work that you've been trying to do. And finally, it starts planting those seeds. There could be a moment during this 6 months, because remember, the eclipse may not happen on that day. Sometimes we do have big things happen on that day, but the energies of that eclipse can actually come to pass anytime in the next 6 months. So, new beginning and money in the next 6 months for you that ties together the role you've had with the work that you've done that you haven't got paid for, that you like just had to do to get better and better and better. But that with Saturn here in the first, it's almost like it's a slow next step, like you start in the job you want. And maybe, like if you are trying to get clients, you don't start with 100 clients. Maybe you start with 3 clients, and it's like a slow new beginning to the method of making money that you want or that you've worked for. This does feel positive. It does feel like, your career makes your money better. So this could also be for Pisces who are working at a job. This could be a time for a raise or I don't know. I mean, I know that like finances are supposed to be going bad right now at this time, and everyone's like, it's going to be a recession. And I don't want to overstate this, but it does feel like there's maybe you get a bonus, or you're able to step up to new responsibility with Saturn in that first house that gives you more money. So this could be a higher rank or a higher role or a higher level of responsibility. You have to work more for the thing, but then you end up getting more money for it. Or you become with that sixth house ruler being Leo, being the sun in the second, it's like a position of authority or a little bit more authority in the work that you do. That's all a possibility here. Now, with Mars in that fifth house of self expression, you might have to, this could be a kind of thing where like you get a new job, then you have to change your hair, you have to kind of change how you come across and cut away from something comfortable. So it's like you love wearing sweatpants, but for your new job, you got to wear a suit, and you have to cut off that part of yourself that wants to wear sweatpants because it's worth it to have the job, like, or with Mars in the fifth, this could be separate and it could be more relationship related, where it's like you realize the person you've been dating isn't really in alignment. And so you got to let them go. For some, maybe a new person comes in, but it doesn't feel like that as much with Mars and Cancer here. It feels a little bit more like, I don't know. Something from the past has to be adjusted to related to dating. Now, this could also have to do with a transit for Pisces who have children, where you're investing into your kids because, and it's like Mars rules your second house. So your money planet in the fifth house of children. Uh, so yeah, maybe you're spending money to have a kid, or you're spending money on a kid, or you're investing in something for them. If you don't have kids, you could be investing in your creativity and making some kind of sacrifice that is less comfortable at home. So like you could downsize your home so that you can spend more money on your music equipment or whatever creative passion you're working on. You could have less time at home, or um, find that you're making sacrifices to make you a little less comfortable, but it's worth it to make the investment of time or energy into either your own business or your own creativity. Or you could be spending more money on entertainment. So it could be for Pisces, you get a little bit more money or something changes in your finances where you can go out now and like actually pay for more dates, or you can pay for more things that allow you to connect with people and have fun at the same time. That could be like entertainment. That could be like going out more. That could be like, going to shows and stuff. Or it could be, again, investing in, like you're putting money into that fifth house. You could be gambling. Some of you Pisces who want to gamble, because gambling is a fifth house activity. You could be realizing you need to stop gambling because it's taking too much of your money, and you quit gambling, you save a bunch of money. But there is a feeling of, possibly, with that Saturn squaring Venus, it's like needing to, uh, I don't know, having a little less time at home, or a little less time in your morning routine, or less time meditating in your house, or something where, there's a little bit less enjoyment at home. or you sell some of your art, just a little bit less enjoyment, a little less beauty when it comes to how you feel about the place that you live. But there's a lot of growth and a lot of activity and a lot of action and changes happening in your second house. One of the things I will say is sometimes, the second house is not other people's money, but sometimes when we have a highlighted second house, that money change can come from, I don't want to say money running out, but it's like, I don't know, like something, something changes with your finances. Now that can be with investments that you were getting, like that kind of thing. But really, overall, money growth is what I see on this, money growth. And with Venus, Mercury, and that, there are new ideas for how to support yourself, new ideas for how to make money, new ideas for how to enjoy your time, how to have a more, like how to slow down a little bit, maybe a desire to slow down a little bit. Even though your money sector might be speeding up, I think that Saturn is slowing you down a bit, but it doesn't have to be slowing you down from what you want. It can be just kind of forcing a bit of a slow, deliberate path toward the next things rather than a rushed path. If that makes sense. There could be a little bit of tension here because we've got Mercury, Uranus conjunct in that third house of like sudden ideas, right? So this is like genius ideas, sudden inspirations, but it can also be a little bit of mental stress. So you might be having some mental stress on the fact that you got to slow down a bit, or you've got to go slowly, or you get the idea, but you don't have the path to implement the idea. So you got to slowly build the path. It's like you have the idea to like speak in front of a million people, but you've never spoken on in front of one person. So you got to build that path to that goal. Apply that to whatever areas of life are more significant to you right now. But it's going to be about slowly building your hopes and dreams with Saturn in your first house and being able to at least see right now maybe what needs to be sacrificed in order to carry that out. All right. Let me see. I think that's what we have for Pisces. Oh, I forgot to announce earlier, you guys, that we have the Saturn course is still open for enrollment. We started last Wednesday. If you want to join, you totally can. You'll get access to the replay and you'll get access to all the future lives. There is a link to go ahead and jump in if you want to jump in with us. Last week, we talked about Saturn through the houses. I went really in depth into that. We also talked a little bit about how to work with Saturn and a little bit of remedies and more about how to enter the sphere of Saturn and how to build a personal relationship with a planet. The planet we're talking about is Saturn. This upcoming week, we are talking about Saturn through the houses, and we are going to go through a little bit more on like how to assess whether your Saturn is healthy or not healthy, and then some of the things you can do about that. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And even though it's Saturn, it's going to be in depth. You're going to learn so much. And we still have 5 more weeks, so you can still get in. You can still get in on all the info, and you should definitely check it out if you want to connect more with, honestly, your purpose, because Saturn's the one planet that we need to master in order to be able to create the life we want. We can have our hopes and dreams and we can have our desire to connect with our purpose, but if we don't have the discipline to carry it out, or we don't know what skills to master, it's kind of a waste if you're not trying to master the energy of your Saturn. So that's a possibility. I also have a reading sale. So if you want to know more about your own personal chart and the transits you're going through, the energy you're in, there's a link in the description for that as well. So you can do either one of those things. And also, I will be doing more lives like this that are longer, that are more in depth, that are fun. So make sure you do to be. I have that Telegram group where all I do is chat you when we're live. So if you would like that extra notification, you're more than welcome to join there. Again, all I do is say, hey, we're going live, and then I give you a link. Just because I know not everyone lives on YouTube like I like to, sometimes you guys miss the notification and you get disappointed, but do watch for those lives. I also created a playlist for our upcoming live readings. So if you want to get a $35 live reading from me, check out the playlist. We're doing one tomorrow on Mars. I'll be reading Mars in your charts. So if you want to know about your motivation and your passion and your sexuality, come to that tomorrow night. It's at 7 p.m. Pacific time on the channel. You can go after this and like set the reminder if you want a reminder. And then every Sunday this month, we'll be doing a different topic. So go check out that playlist if you want to make sure you get in on those topics that you want to do, because for those live readings, for those of you who are new to the channel, who haven't been to one of those, I actually do a live reading. You can book it at the time of the reading and come on and I'll do it live. And we do it by topic now. So this Sunday is Mars. We have, and then there's another one after that. I don't remember what I scheduled, but it's on the channel and you can go set your reminder now so that you make sure you get in on the video. And thank you all, everyone who just, comments on these videos and shares them. And, you guys who are on my email list, who reply to my emails, and those of you in the course, and those of you booking readings, and just every other thing you guys do to share your love on this channel. Thank you so much for everything you do. We are growing, and that is because of you guys. So again, thank you. Have a good night. Good luck on the eclipse energies. Don't be too afraid of the eclipse. These happen every 6 months. We're going to live. We're all going to live. We'll be okay. We'll be okay through the energies. And technically not everyone lives, but that's really morbid. So, okay, guys, I will see you guys in the next video. Have a wonderful evening and bye. See ya.